Okay, so I've got to admit, it may not have been the best idea to put a load of raisins onto the fire. Yeah, that's not quite the reaction I was expecting from him. Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from a sort of interestinglife.com. You're joining me on board good old Narrowboat Tilly, and today you're joining me for yet another first episode of yet another new series of videos that I'm trying out. This one is Beyond the Boat, my actual life, and basically, as some of you know, I've been planning a few different documentary series to introduce, and this is one of them that hasn't quite made it to documentary level. And my intention was to try and do a much wider sort of all of life video, rather than just showing you all of the boat stuff and talking about boats and only boats, and sort of focus more on going away and like seeing what actually happens outside of life. As many of you know, and as I say all the time, I don't just sit on the boat curled up in a ball saying, "Oh, I'm bored." My whole life and the whole boat idea is basically to be the base out in the middle of all of these amazing places and bits of scenery, to then go off and explore and enjoy the actual surroundings, rather than go, yep, I'm on a boat and that's where I'm staying. So the whole basis of this was originally to be a documentary, sort of looking at more of like just going off and wandering down the towpath and going over the aqueducts and then walking up into the hills and biking everywhere, all of that sort of stuff. But as I was putting it together and all the rest of it, I thought, you know what, this isn't what I want it to be. This is making it seem too serious. It's making it into something that it's not. So what I've decided to do is roll it all way back and keep it incredibly simple. And it's basically going to be almost like a video diary sort of clip show of random things that go on and little snippets of different days. So, as we cruise down this incredibly narrow stretch and very overgrown bit of canal here, I will say that one of the ideas I've had for this video, to try and make it a little bit more structured than just a total complete clip show, is to at least try and keep those clips themed to a few areas. So the first thing we're going to talk about is cycling, biking, fixie riding, whatever you want to call it. Basically, my bike is absolutely vital to the entire way that I live my life, because obviously if I'm mooring up in the middle of nowhere of places like this, having something that's easily transportable and storable on board the boat, such as a nice little bike, is absolutely ideal to be able to hop on the towpath, get to the roads, and then if I'm heading into work, if I'm doing shopping, going to friends or family, as you can imagine, doing this by bike rather than boot is a huge amount quicker, and it's even quicker to go by bike over short distances than it is to walk up to a bus stop, wait for the bus to arrive, then obviously pay and go on the bus trip, get off at the bus stop in town, and then walk to where I actually want to be. So it doesn't always go perfectly, but let's look at some biking clips. So we're out pushing the bike up a very big hill, which will be something I do an awful lot in this region, as I'm currently in the process of filming a good few sessions of very fast, nice country and rural downhill sessions. And again, these are the moments away from the boat where I'm literally just out enjoying what I like to do, walking and biking in the middle of nowhere like this. But just by strapping the GoPro to my chest, in a few minutes we're hopefully going to have another video that hopefully some of you will enjoy watching. And again, I mean, to be able to be out here in winter and doing this just as a random day of life, fantastic. This is everything that I wanted boat life to be when I set out all those years ago, thinking, oh yeah, a cheap way of living, an outdoors and rural lifestyle, that sounds like it might be a winner. When the bike is on the boat, I do like to keep it locked up nice and tightly. As you can probably imagine, the last time that I saw one of my bikes disappear off the boat, it was £400 that I would rather not have had just walk away as if by magic. So that was a lesson well learned, and it's unfortunate, but even in places out like this, you can't be too careful. And just talking about being too careful, this is me filming one of my random runs of a mile plus of no-handed fixie riding. Again, don't try this at home, but these are just all the little moments, and you see in here just travelling out at dusk. And there's an awful lot of biking that goes on at goodness knows what time of night, and it's something I might talk about a little bit later in this video. Maybe it'll get delayed to a different one, but there's a lot of fun and games that goes on with beautiful sunny rides and awful, terrible, wet, windy, rainy rides, and of course an awful lot of late night turning up to the boat, disappearing from the boat and turning up even later. And yeah, let's get on to some of the less perfect moments of biking. Okay then folks, you're joining me for another classic moment of life. So I biked into my mum's house to collect a few bits of shopping from town, then biking from there down the country lanes just located over in that direction to my friend's house at Western Rin. I had obviously my backpack absolutely full of things. Then from there the plan was spend a few hours up there and then bike back down almost in a full circle down to St Martin's. And of course, at the halfway point between Oswestry, where my mum lives, and Western Rin, where my friends live, I get not one but two punches. And I thought, you know what, I've in the past, as you might have seen in videos, I've had punches on that road and then just walked my bike the rest of the way. But I just got so much stuff that I'm actually carrying in my bag. I thought, you know what, you've got to call the cavalry. And at some point, hopefully, my grandfather will be wandering down this road to save us all. And there we have it, folks. Any time that your bag is proper bulging full, you know it's not a good time to have two flat tyres. And I am talking proper flat tyres here. So my plan is now for tomorrow, instead of going down to the boat on my bike today, which is not going to happen because I know that there's not even a bike pump for these pressed valves up at my friend's house where we're heading. So I will walk down the towpath about 2 miles to the boat from there later on today, and then I think tomorrow morning I will bring everything forward on schedule a little bit, fill up with water, and then turn around with the boat and boat up to about a 10-15 minute walk away from my friend's house. So then obviously I haven't got the hassle of having to walk up and down the towpath with or without a punctured bike. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Just to let anybody who's particularly interested know, the plan did all go well, and this is that morning following where I'd walked down the previous night without a bike, went down and filled up with some water, and then turned around and instead of fetching the bike to the boat, I did the easier option of taking the boat to the bike. So that's always pleasant. As you can see, it was a pretty chilly morning, which rather handily is going to segue us into just the next little clip, because again, as I was talking about the weather, well, it's not always warm for biking. So if I'm going to go on my bike a little bit later, I think that I may well let it warm up a little bit first. As you may be able to see, it's looking pretty chilly out here at the moment. As you can imagine, the cold weather and the ice and frost is a problem you're far more likely to come across during the winter months, which is why the winter mooring period is so handy to be able to pay for a long-term mooring over the 5 months of winter. And that obviously then sort of lowers the risk of getting stranded anywhere if there was heavy snowfall and trees coming down into the canal and so on. But just simple things like this of being able to hop on my bike and not have too far to ride down potentially lethal icy roads, I'm sure you can imagine is an absolutely huge helping hand. Again though, because it's been quite windy on many days over this winter, there's been a lot of punches going on because of how many bits of stick and stuff that gets blown from out of the hedgerows onto the roads, which we're about to see in just 1 second. But I thought I'd show you, this of course is the remedy to those cold mornings, a nice good fire. You're once again joining me down these country roads, lovely trees and all the usual stuff, fields and hedgerows. And of course we've got our little bike pump out because once again we have got a proper flat front tyre, but this is a sort of semi-slow but quite quick slow puncher, which I can get about maybe a mile of biking out before it needs fully inflating, and then get another mile out. So it's a slow way to get back to town, but I'm getting there very slowly. As you can imagine, with all of the biking and walking to and from the boat at all hours, whether that's to friends or to or from work, you can imagine there's also a lot of wildlife spotted. I've seen badgers and foxes, plenty of hedgehogs, but also there's the more natural things that you expect to see, such as the canal side pub, for example. So we once again find ourselves after 10 o'clock returning down to the boat. This is the Lion Quays that you're seeing over there, where there's big wooden jetties just across the canal from us and the big hotel part just up there. And this is one of the places where it's really nice to come past sort of late at night, especially if there's like some sort of wedding or event going on, and you can see in that main room like everybody dancing and the disco going, and it is just an amusing little thing to sort of bookend the day on certain occasions. Anyway, it's extremely chilly out, so I am going to get myself down this canal and into the Merc just a little bit further down there. It's just gone midday and I've just had the most beloved of all text messages that I receive. Do you fancy a pizza tonight? My answer is obviously an immediate and wholehearted yes, definitely. But as there's a good few hours before I'm going up to my friend's house, you can see it's a beautiful day out there. I have also got a huge amount of videos ready to upload. You can see all the ones with the opening title slides here. So what I think I'm going to do is, while the weather is this beautiful, I'm going to hop out on my bike and ride a long way down the back there and up to the country lanes and somehow end up in Oswestry. Leave all the videos uploading at my mum's house because there's just so many of them. I don't want to do it while I'm at work just in case something goes awry. And then stop there, maybe do a little bit of shopping, get another ton of cereal bars, and from goodness knows how many miles in that direction I will do almost a complete circle right up to my friend's house up at Western Rin in that direction. Then, obviously, fill up with pizza, and I'm sure you can then imagine that I will be very bloated as I trundle down the towpath back to Tilly later on tonight. But my goodness me, this is what it's all about. Done loads of filming this morning, well, as you've just seen, done an awful lot of filming and editing, and there's still a couple more videos that I haven't done voiceovers for, so I might do those while I'm in town. But really, like I say, when you've got a day like this, it would be absolutely outrageous to not go out and enjoy it. So luckily we've got our bike on board with two, at the moment, actually inflated tyres for a change. And so it was that the day unfolded, starting off with an extremely bumpy towpath ride for a little bit. Got me video sorted, got a little bit of shopping, then off out to my friends for my usual, a nice big pizza and chips and cheese and beans, lovely stuff, before a very cold trip back. As you may well be able to tell, it is an extremely cold night that I've returned to Tilly on, just going through the locking the bike up phase, and it is an absolutely beautiful night out here, as you would imagine. There's a little bit of mist starting to rise off the canal, and there you're looking at the reflection of the moon, and there you're looking at the actual moon. It's very slightly hazy, but I can see an absolute ton of stars up here. You've got all of the sort of classic constellations. Just above the moon there's Leo, and I don't know if you can see a spot sort of in the middle of the screen, maybe, maybe not, but that would be Jupiter. Got Gemini, Cancer just by Jupiter. You can very faintly see the two main stars of that. Of course, I'm assuming you can't see any of this, so I'll stop talking about it. But you've got, obviously, like I say, all the classic ones. Auriga right at the very zenith, pretty much. Of course, Orion and Orion's belt pointing down to Sirius, the really bright star. Anyway, I'm going to stop wittering on and looking at the sky. I'm going to get the fire lit, and then, hopefully, I'm going to be in bed within the next sort of 17 minutes. I'm not sure exactly why I said 17, but, well, that's completely random. Right then, let's get inside. As I'm sat here at the desk, currently editing the video that you're watching, I thought I'd just throw in a random clip here, just to say that the day that we've just been viewing a quick few clips from, of the pizza night day, is the perfect example of my modern attempt to try and make the most out of all the situations that arise where I was not really up to much that day and I knew that I wanted to do something. So when I had that message come through, I thought, yeah, that'll get me out and doing stuff. But hang on, just going up and down straight to my friend's house and then back down at the night isn't going to be much, particularly in terms of getting out there and enjoying the outdoors on such a beautiful day. So that's how I came up with, I'll go into town first. And I took a winding road rather than the most direct route there, just to enjoy the beautiful weather and the scenery and all the usual stuff. Then obviously in town I left a few videos uploading and saw me mum and went across the road to me nan and granddad's house and all that sort of stuff. Then as the sun was setting, I went out to my friend's house, and again that was straight down the country lanes, perfect stuff. and then, as you saw, got back very late at night, where it was very much right, let's just get the fire on and get in bed. And those are the moments that I really want to try and communicate and say, this is what it's all about. It's what I love about being able to fetch a boat to the middle of nowhere, or maybe not necessarily the middle of nowhere, but certainly around this area it's still a pretty beautiful scenery and very rural. And even though it's by where I used to live in Oswestry, it's one of the things where I can still be out in my little tiny little home, sort of completely secluded in many ways, but within about a 15-minute tops walk from this exact spot where I'm currently filming this film, I can be up at my friend's house, I can hop on my bike, and in about half an hour of a comfortable ride be back in town and be in work, if that's a plus or negative. So it's one of the things that I'm extremely lucky and very grateful to have, to be able to spend my winters around this area on a winter mooring, being able to be back in sort of right amongst where all of my friends and family are, and friends dotted about on the canal. And it's just great to be able to enjoy that sort of, well, we're on a boat and we're doing what we love to do, but we can hop up to friends over here, or can meet my friends halfway down the roads and walk back out to the boat. And because everybody knows sort of the key iconic places around here, such as Chirk Aqueduct, it's really easy when I'm on winter mooring to say, oh, I'll meet you up at this point, or I'll meet you by this pub, and then we can walk down the towpath to the boat and maybe take you for a spin and so on. And that's one of the things that I am extremely lucky in my personal case to be able to have, well, to basically have been able to grow up somewhere that was literally within an easy bus journey, an easy bike ride, a relatively short walk in the grand scheme of things, about 5 miles or so from the canal, so that I've obviously got this potential to fetch the boat back into these areas where I already know loads of people. Anyway, I suppose on the topic of that, I'll also just say that, as some of you know, over the summer months, I like to go and sort of house sit when my friends and family and even my friends' parents are going away on holiday. So we sometimes go off to some random house in the countryside and look through the window, and it's like, oh yeah, that's more rural scenery. I have to go out and have a walk around that. And it's great to be able to have that again, that it's sort of my land holiday, and my sort of summer holiday is going off and going to various people's houses, looking after the cat, the dog, watering the plants, all the usual sort of stuff. And again, it's just great, and ironically, on many occasions, that's led me, rather than being more relaxed, as many people think of, oh yeah, just go into a house and stay there, because I like to be between the boat and the house, if that's the case, then it normally leads to me doing more bike riding and putting in more miles on the pedals than just normal day-to-day life, because of the increased amount of going in and out, in and out. I mean, there's sometimes I've been in and out of town 3 times from the boat to feed the cat, but I've wanted to really be on the boat for whatever particular reason on that day, rather than stopping in an empty house with obviously all of the facilities and amenities that brings. Ever since people actually started watching these videos, I've got a weird problem that nobody really wants to appear in any of them. So thank you very much for that. What a problem to have. Amazing, thanks. Now, this is the really iconic photo that I wanted to show you. This is the first photo of me ever taken on board Tilly, just after I'd bought it. But one of the things that I really like doing is getting people out on the boat and handing them the tiller. First time. How are you finding it?
Scary. Very scary.
Well, we're out for a lovely walk just around the village here. Got the church, got birds in the trees, all the usual stuff. Dogs barking, cockerels crowing, and a crying baby. Lovely stuff. Right, onwards and upwards. Being able to head out and push a baby around in a pushchair in places like this is again just a demonstration of the sort of rural area that I grew up, and everything that I say, I'm so lucky to have been able to enjoy so much of this outdoors. And here's an action shot of Dan in charge of the pram. I promise you there is actually a baby in this as we see this. But of course, when it comes to friends and family, you can't leave out the various pets dotted around. This is Pippin the cat, who has basically taken complete ownership of my old bedroom at my mum's house, and, well, making good use of the bed and stuff that I bought. Of course, not all the animals in the household are quite so relaxed and quiet and calm. We've got Pixie the dog, who, my goodness me, will just play all day and can get a little bit boisterous, as you can see from this little clip here. Unfortunately, the cat cushion did not last very long at all. I think this was a matter of minutes old. So, yeah, as soon as everybody else was out of the room, that was unfortunately the end of the cat pillow. As you can see, she's also got a fair old pace on her when she gets going, so good luck in trying to wrestle any items you may have accidentally left on the floor from her. And yeah, really, I don't know, I just wanted to throw in a complete random set of these clips. Goodness me, look how quick she is off. Anyway, let's move on. You're joining me down a pretty chilly towpath at the moment, and me and my granddad have just had a ride out from town in the car to fetch 2 bags of logs that were generously handed over to him to give to me, obviously for use in the fire. And this is one of the things I've mentioned in previous videos, that it's amazing how little I spend on actual fuel these days, because not only is my mum's fella a landscape gardener with chainsaws and many jobs involving cutting trees, but also as word got around that I was living on a boat and had me little wood burner, then all family, friends and all sorts of people who I don't even actually know person to person in some cases, like, oh yeah, we've got a load of wood, oh we've got a load of logs in the garden that we've never used. And so I've managed to collect all of these things from many generous individuals in the Oswestry area. So thank you all if you're watching this video. And, well, like I say, it's just fantastic to have that general little bit of generosity from total strangers in some cases. A completely random clip that I want to throw in here is to dispel the myth that people think when I go and stay at my friends' houses, I live in some sort of royal palace compared to the boat. Whereas, as you can actually see, my bed is made up of sofa cushions put onto the floor with a duvet over the top. So to conclude, after that very bizarre random clip thrown in, I will say, yes, all in all, friends and family, I'm very lucky to be able to live amongst everybody, and I'm very grateful, and it's very important. Right, onwards and upwards. Instead of trying to wrap up this video, I am instead going to try and sum up my entire life in as simple means as I possibly can. So, here's the general overview of my life, and I'm hoping that this first episode will lead the future episodes to have more freedom now that everything's been put into a bit more context, to just be focused more on actual clips and general little moments of life from either on the boat or out and about, goodness knows where and goodness knows what. So, to sum up life, if I am on the boat, then I will either be sleeping, writing, and that could be writing either another book or even just something simple like a few lines in my diary for the day, or I will be listening to podcasts, not really doing anything, which I spend too much time doing, I suppose. But of course, either filming or editing videos is a huge part of how I spend my time afloat, as well as playing around with the fire. Disclaimer, don't play around with fire, that's obviously a given. So if I'm not on the boat, then these days I'm spending a little bit more time at work, but not too much time, although I've noticed it's been affecting what I'm getting done in terms of videos and things like that, so I will see what I can do on that front. So if I'm not working, then obviously I'm going to be trying to get out there, and even if I'm just walking up and down the canal towpath to the shops, or walking into some of the local hills that are just over there, maybe hopping on the bus, going down to Llangollen, getting into some bigger hills, and if I'm extremely lucky, going out with some friends and getting to some even bigger hills than that. But really, if I'm not on the boat and I'm not at work, then I try to not just be looking at a screen or looking at, I don't know, what endless plans of writing that I'm never going to get done and that sort of thing. Try and actually do something. And that's, as I say, the heart. As I said at the very start of this video, the boat, the intention has always been, this is a floating base, this is a headquarters where my stuff is, that can enable me to then step out of the door and already be in the middle of nowhere. And that's what I just absolutely love about Tilly. It's just, she's great. To finally draw this video to a close, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's been a little bit of a scrappy video where it's sort of been half video diary, half me talking to the camera, and even though I've already said 2 halves, here's another one, and half clip show. I hope that going forwards it can be more focused on the clips and showing you loads more of general life and what's going on, and a lot more scenery and a lot more of stuff that's both on the canal and off the canal. I hope that you've enjoyed it in the bizarre state that this video's ended up in, but until the next time, please do consider checking out my other videos and subscribing if you haven't already. There's over 200 narrowboat videos on the channel, and loads of biking and kayaking and walking and goodness knows what else. feel free to also like the Facebook page and even add me personally on Facebook and Twitter if you want to see general photos and updates from life on the canal. And if you're particularly interested and especially generous, then please do consider checking out my narrowboat books available for the Kindle. Check the links in the description below for everything just mentioned, or search Amazon for The Narrowboat Lad. And until the next time, I suppose, have a fantastic day, keep it boat worthy, and farewell.